The glass shattered before I even registered that the mug had slipped from my hand. Hot cocoa bled across the kitchen tiles like a spreading wound, and for a moment I simply stood there, frozen, breath caught in my throat, because the words echoing in my head were louder than the crack of ceramic on stone. We all agreed she can cover it. She owes the family anyway. My sister's voice. My family murmuring in agreement. The soft clink of forks and Christmas china. A conversation I wasn't meant to hear. They were sitting in the living room, unaware I had returned for my scarf, unaware I had paused in the hallway, unaware that their whispers had sliced straight through me, sharp and merciless. And they definitely had no idea that the "it" they were referring to was a $25,000 bill for my sister's new car. A car she had decided to buy on Christmas Eve and magically expected me to fund. The betrayal burned hotter than the spilled cocoa. My hand trembled around the doorknob. My chest tightened. My vision blurred. But it wasn't just the money. It was the way they said it. As if it was nothing. As if I was nothing. As if my existence was a convenient wallet they had every right to tap into. I wanted to burst in, scream, demand answers. But I didn't. Because layered beneath the rage, buried under the shock, was a deeper ache, a wound I had tried to hide even from myself. They had been ignoring me all day. Not subtly either. Not accidentally. Not the way families sometimes get distracted during holiday chaos. This was different. Cold. Deliberate. Calculated. A spotlight turned off the moment I entered a room. Conversations paused, then reshaped without me. My sister's eyes grazing past me as if I were one of Grandma's dusty ornaments. And the worst part? I had excused it. They're just stressed. Maybe I'm overthinking. It's Christmas. Don't ruin it. But now the truth was sharp, undeniable. They weren't ignoring me. They were excluding me. I took a slow breath and picked up the broken pieces of the mug. Hands shaking so hard one shard sliced across my palm. Pain bloomed, bright and stinging, but I welcomed it. At least it was honest. Not like them. Not like this. The kettle whistled behind me. A shrill sound that made my nerves jump. I turned it off, sank against the counter and waited. Waited for the boiling inside me to settle. But it didn't. It only grew. Because the whispers continued. She makes more than all of us combined. Why wouldn't she help? She doesn't even have kids, she has the money. She owes us for everything we've done. Just send her the bill. Send me the bill. As if I were a bank. As if I were their safety net. As if I were a resource instead of a daughter, sister, granddaughter. But beneath the anger, guilt slithered in. An old familiar companion. Had I done something wrong? Had I been ungrateful? Had I failed them somehow? My breath hitched. Was this my fault? A door creaked. I startled, straightening just as my mother entered the kitchen. Her expression flickered, surprise, discomfort, then a careful, neutral smile. Oh, sweetheart. We wondered where you disappeared to. Disappeared? You mean the invisibility you all gifted me today? I didn't respond. Her gaze dropped to the floor. Another mug broken? That was one of my good ones. I stared at her. Really stared. And in that moment I realized something chilling. She wasn't even asking if I was okay. She didn't even see the blood trailing from my palm. She cared about the mug more than me. I'm going home, I whispered. Her face twitched. Now? Dinners. I'm going home, I repeated, stronger this time. She exhaled in irritation. Fine. But before you go, your sister will send you something tonight. Please don't make a fuss about it. It's Christmas. My pulse froze. My stomach dropped. There was no guilt in her voice. No hesitation. No attempt to soften it. Just expectation. Just entitlement. Just betrayal. I wiped my bleeding palm on a napkin, grabbed my coat, and walked past her without another word. She didn't follow. Didn't ask why I was upset. Didn't stop me. She let me leave. Out in the cold night air, my breath fogged in front of me as I hurried to my car. The front porch lights cast long shadows across the snow, stretching like dark fingers reaching for my ankles. A metaphor, maybe, my family's grasp on me, always pulling, always taking. The moment I shut the car door, my phone pinged. A message. From my sister. It was a PDF. $25,842.17. Balance due. Merry Christmas. You can transfer it whenever. Red heart. My heart hammered. My throat closed. My fingers trembled violently. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I drove home on numb autopilot, every Christmas light blurring into meaningless streaks of color. My mind replayed their words, each repetition cutting deeper. She can cover it. She owes us. Just send her the bill. By the time I parked outside my apartment, the shock had turned into something heavier, denser. A weight pressing on my ribs, making it hard to breathe. I went inside, closed the door, locked it. Finally, in the dim, quiet stillness of my living room, the tears erupted, raw, shuddering, uncontrollable. I sank onto the couch and buried my face in my hands, shoulders shaking with each sob. It wasn't about the money. Never was. It was about the way they saw me, the way they used me, the way they dismissed me. It was betrayal, but not the kind that comes from lovers or friends. This was deeper, more intimate, more painful. Family betrayal hits the soul before it hits the heart. I cried until the numbness swallowed the pain, leaving behind an empty, echoing quiet. When I finally looked up, the message still glowed on my phone screen. I stared at it for a long time. Too long. Then slowly, calmly, with a steadiness that frightened even me, I whispered aloud, "Enough," because something inside me had snapped. No, shifted. Aligned. I didn't know what I was going to do. Not yet. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. They had taken advantage of me for the last time. And this time, I was going to take action. Whatever it cost. Whatever it revealed. Whatever it broke. This was the end of who I had been for them. And the beginning of who I needed to become. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the room lit only by the faint amber glow of the streetlight outside my window. My phone sat beside me on the mattress like a ghost, silent, cold, heavy with the message that had cracked something inside me wide open. $25,842.17. You can transfer it whenever. Not even a please. Not even a conversation. Just a demand wrapped in entitlement and a heart emoji. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard their voices again. Soft, conspiratorial, cruel. She owes us. She should help. She can cover it. What had I done to make them believe they were entitled to my life? At some point, exhaustion overtook me, not sleep but a kind of emotional shutdown. I showered at dawn, letting the hot water pound against my skin as if it could wash off years of being taken for granted. By the time I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, I had made my decision. No more guilt. No more explanations. No more silence. I would respond the way they taught me to, coldly, directly, and without hesitation. But first, I needed to understand how deep their betrayal ran. The first thread. I opened my laptop and accessed my banking app, scanning my transaction history. I didn't expect anything unusual. Just the usual bills, groceries, transfers. Then my eyes snagged on a line item I had never noticed before. A monthly transfer. $350. Family support contribution. My breath stilled. I clicked into the details. It had been running for 2 years. 2 years of silent withdrawals into an account under my mother's name. My chest tightened. No, this has to be a glitch. But it wasn't. My financial advisor had set the transfer up at the request of a family representative. My mother had apparently told him I had approved it. I hadn't. I felt sick. My mother, who had barely looked at me yesterday, had been taking money from me every month without even asking. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't an accident. This was a long, calculated pattern of using me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling with a mixture of fury and clarity. I changed my online banking password. I disabled all automatic transfers. And I closed the shared emergency account my mother had access to. I thought I would feel guilty. Instead, I felt light, free, steady. But that was just the first thread. Pulling it unraveled everything. The second thread. I checked my email next. Hundreds of old messages. Family threads. Shared calendars. Group updates. I typed my sister's name into the search bar. I expected a few scattered messages. I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Clipped at the top was an email from 3 months ago, one I had never received because I hadn't been included in the original thread. But someone had forwarded it to me anonymously that morning. No subject line. No note. Just the message. I opened it. Inside was a conversation between my sister, mother, and father. I read every line. Each sentence landed like a blow. We should ask her to start contributing more. She's single. No kids. Plenty of savings. Mom. She complains too much. If she wants to be part of this family, she should help out. Dad. If she doesn't want to help voluntarily, just pressure her. She always caves. Sister. We deserve some relief. She has the means. Mom. My jaw clenched so hard I thought something might crack. They weren't just talking about the car. They were planning how to squeeze me for more money, strategizing how to manipulate me, deliberately exploiting me. The worst part came at the end. Let's start ignoring her a bit. She behaves better when she feels guilty. I froze. The buzzing in my ears drowned out the world. They didn't ignore me because they were busy. They didn't ignore me because they were stressed. They ignored me intentionally. Weaponized silence. To make me compliant. To make me give in. I covered my mouth with my hand because a sound clawed its way up my throat. A sob, a laugh, I wasn't even sure. My entire life, I thought the distance I felt was my failure. Turns out it was their tactic. The plan. The shaking stopped. The panic quieted. Everything inside me went eerily calm. If they wanted to see what I could do when I wasn't guilty or scared or trying desperately to earn their approval, fine. I'd show them. Not with screaming. Not with begging. Not with explaining. But with control. Real, undeniable control. I typed out a message and sent it to the family group chat. The same chat where I had spent the last year sending ignored invitations, unacknowledged updates, and unanswered holiday wishes. My message. I won't be paying the $25,842.17. I will not be funding any family expenses going forward. Automatic transfers have been terminated. Do not contact me for money again. Then after a beat I added, Merry Christmas. I hit send. The silence afterward was immediate and heavy. For a full minute no one replied. I imagined them staring at their phones, blinking, stunned that the obedient daughter, the reliable sister, the quiet provider had finally snapped the chain. My pulse drummed with an electric mix of dread and exhilaration. Then the messages came. The fallout. Oh, what is wrong with you? This is not the time for drama. Dad. We're family. You don't turn your back on family. Sister. Are you serious right now? Cancel the transfers? Are you insane? Then. Sister. Just pay the bill. You ruined Christmas for nothing. I stared at the screen expressionless. For once I didn't feel small. Didn't feel scared. Didn't feel obligated. I felt powerful. I locked my phone and set it face down. And then, it rang. Incoming call, no. I declined it. It rang again. Incoming call, Dad. Declined. Then my sister. Declined. And when the calls finally stopped, a new message appeared, long, frantic, desperate. Clearly written by someone whose world was beginning to crumble. Oh, if you think you can just walk away after everything we've done for you, you're mistaken. This family raised you. Fed you. Helped you. UOWES. Call me back now. Something inside me snapped into perfect clarity. I owe them nothing. Not anymore. The twist of fate. At noon I received an email from my bank. Someone had attempted to access my old shared account using a disabled login. Someone using my mother's credentials. 3 failed attempts. Locked out. Permanently. I didn't smile, but something warm flickered in my chest. They were scrambling. They were desperate because for the first time in years they couldn't use me. But the true twist arrived that evening. Around 6 p.m., my phone chimed with a new message from an unknown number. It was a screenshot. A forwarded message. An internal family chat, without me. Another one I wasn't supposed to see. Attached at the top was a brief note from the anonymous sender. You should know the truth. I scrolled. The messages were from earlier that afternoon. Oh, we need her money. We depended on those transfers. I told you not to push her too far. Dad, we need a plan. We can't afford the mortgage without her help. Sister, she won't last long without us. She always comes crawling back. Then, sister, if she doesn't, we'll just guilt trip her again. It always works. Oh, she's too soft for her own good. My heart thudded slowly, heavily. But then came the message that made me go still. Sister, don't worry. I'll apologize and cry. She always melts when I cry. And once she starts trusting us again, we'll get everything we need. My skin went cold. Everything inside me locked into place. This wasn't love. This wasn't family. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was exploitation, manipulation, emotional extortion masked as care. They hadn't ignored me accidentally. They hadn't expected me to help. They hadn't valued my presence at Christmas. They only valued what I could give them. And now that resource was gone. I inhaled slowly, exhaled, then sent a final message to the family group chat. Do not contact me again. Any further attempts will be handled legally. This is final. I blocked them all. The quiet aftermath. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peaceful. I made dinner for myself for the first time in ages without worrying about who might need help. I lit a candle, played soft music, wrapped myself in a blanket and sat on my balcony as snow drifted gently from the sky. For once, the world didn't feel heavy. It felt open, possible, mine. But the real emotional shift came later that night when I received another message from the same unknown number. This time it had words. Asterisk. I'm your cousin. I've seen how they treat you. I'm sorry. You deserve to know the truth. Asterisk. I closed my eyes. For the first time all day, tears filled them again. But they weren't painful. They were relief. Validation. Freedom. The real twist. 2 days later, I received a letter from the bank. The mortgage my parents claimed they couldn't pay? It wasn't theirs. It was in my name. They had refinanced their house years ago. Using my credit. Using my identity. Without my consent. I sat there staring at the papers, shock pulsing through my bloodstream. It wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was legal. Financial. Criminal. Family betrayal had turned into something darker, deeper. And suddenly everything made sense. The expectations. The manipulation. The entitlement. The pressure. The silence. The demands. They had built their lives on my back. And now that I had stepped away, their entire foundation was collapsing. I closed the letter with trembling hands and placed it on the table. Then I did what I should have done long, long ago. I contacted an attorney. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. But out of self-preservation. Out of justice. Out of reclaiming the life they had quietly taken piece by piece. The final line. Months later, after the dust settled, after the legal battles, after the restraining orders and identity theft investigations, after the sleepless nights and the endless paperwork, I stood in my new apartment, overlooking the city lights. Alone. But not lonely. I was rebuilding. Stronger. Wiser. Untouchable. My sister's car? Repossessed. The mortgage? Transferred off my name. The monthly transfers? Refunded. My family? No longer a threat. No longer a chain. No longer something I needed to shrink myself to fit inside. As snow drifted past my window like 1,000 weightless stars, I whispered one last truth into the quiet. Family doesn't get to break you just because they share your blood. And with that, I stepped forward, into my own life, my own peace, my own future. Unafraid. Unburdened. Finally free.